everyone. It's Alicia, and welcome back to the Evening Podcast. This past week, today is October 18th, 2025, and I just wanted to mark it as such because this past week we have been bombarded once again with tons of uh, just overwhelming information and things that can really cause a lot of harm and trauma and just full on just ridiculous um ness that will take place or and is taking place here in the United States of America. Excuse me. And I feel like at this point in life we have to do our best to stick together and help one another and ensure that our fellow man is being taken care of because this government is clearly not looking out for the greater good of its citizens and is only thinking about themselves. And when I was thinking about putting this podcast episode together, I instantly gravitated towards this whole threat. And it's literally what it is a threat on humanity, especially those that are some of the most vulnerable here in the United States of America. And to know that SNAP benefits, i.e., food stamps, could be at risk, folks not receiving them in the month of November, this is a threat on those that need this type of assistance. And it will only bring more fear and destruction and scarcity and potentially even violence because when folks are desperate, and rightfully so, right? I mean, we have to eat. We have to eat. Um, thinking about this whole idea of someone being so like willing to say, "Hey, yeah, let's cut off a lifeline to millions of folks in America um, for whatever reason, right? Because there's so many different ways to spin why the government is shut down and why this actual choice was made. Uh, but yeah. Let's just take advantage of the most vulnerable because I'm assuming in the eyes of folks that are in these positions to make decisions like this they feel as if these individuals that do need this assistance aren't valuable, aren't important to our society. And I'm here to say that that is not the case at all. That is false. And that is some of the most vile mentality that I've ever, thought could even be a thing. But here we are. I do want to also preface that, the hope is that this is just a threat and they won't really take action on this. But either way, threat or no threat, the thought that this was even in people's minds is unreal to me. Completely unreal that someone would think that it's okay to treat the least of these in such a way that they feel justified. And so y'all know me, I found two different articles that I wanted to share with you all about this. And you know, I don't I mean, obviously there's other things that are happening behind the scenes that, many of us are not aware of as to why certain things are rolling out the way they are. But regardless of what those things are like I said, this is just not the way to implement any type of like strength or authoritarian type of approach. Like this is so um cowardice in my opinion. This doesn't show any type of strength at all. Because if you're that worried about the people, then do right by the people, right? That's just my my 2 cents on that. But let's get into this article here. This initial article it was actually something from CNN Politics, and it is titled "Millions of Americans Are at Risk of Losing Food Stamps Next Month Amid Shutdown." And this was written by Tammy Luby. I think that's how her last name is pronounced. And forgive me if I didn't pronounce that right. Luhby. I'm assuming that's Luby or Lubby, probably Lubby. But like I said, apologies for mispronouncing the last name. Tammy Lubby or Luby is the author. And so the article starts out, it says roughly 42 million people are at risk of losing critical food assistance in November amid the federal government shutdown. And it's not clear whether the Trump administration will step in to find the funds to continue paying benefits as it has with with their other priorities. The food stamp program will run out of money in 2 weeks. Now, this article was written actually, this was actually something that was provided 5 hours ago. Like I said, today's October 18th of 2025. So within 2 weeks time from since this article was written, which was today or maybe probably yesterday, but then they published it today or, however that goes. So roughly 2 weeks from now, the food stamp program will run out of money. The Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins, I'm sorry, told reporters that the White House told this to the White House on Thursday. So you're talking about millions and millions of vulnerable families of hungry families that are not going to have access to these programs because of this shutdown, she said. Like other members of the Trump administration, Rollins cast blame on Democrats, posting this on X Thursday that they are putting their political agenda ahead of food security for American families. Democrats have urged Republicans are at fault for being unwilling to negotiate a spending deal that includes the extension of expiring enhanced Obamacare premium subsidies. Rollins' comments came a week after the U.S. Department of Agriculture told states that there is not enough money to pay full food stamp benefits in November if the lapse in federal funding continues. The agency asks states to hold off on November payments until further notice. About 1 in 8 Americans receive help buying food through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program or SNAP for the formal name for food stamps. A key pillar of the nation's safety net, the program provides enrollees with an average monthly benefit of $188 per person. And this was as of May. This was the money that typically someone would receive monthly uh, um, for food stamp benefits. And I just wanted to stop there because as we are going through this article, it's a lot to just even like process, like the thought that, like I said, that this would be something that would be discontinued for folks who are, in some of the most vulnerable situations ever. But I wanted to like also address this continuous battle between, oh, whose fault is it? Is it the Republicans? Is it the Democrats? Um, and this game of like almost ping pong back and forth. Like no one's just going to take the ball and take the accountability and say, hey, it's our job to ensure that the American people are taken care of, right? No one wants to, take that accountability at this point. And so for me, now it's understood that Republicans are the majority. I mean, that's just what it is. They have basically the majority in every sense of government. So it's like we can instantly say, "Oh, it's the Republicans, duh." Like they are responsible for all of this adversity that we're seeing right now in the United States. And you wouldn't be wrong, right? Because if you're the majority, you can create change. If you're truly wanting to see the American people thrive, then yes, say that. Say yes, fine. And we can also acknowledge that there are Democrats in these spaces that can continuously, you know, fight this good fight and be in protest of what's happening in ways that would hopefully propel a change in the government as mindset on how they are managing the funds that the people, give to them to actually promote uh, better outcomes for the American people. And unfortunately, we have not seen better outcomes through this government for years. Years. Think about it. Like, how often do you sit here and say, "Oh my gosh, America, they provide all these, great benefits to us. We pay into this system, and because we pay into this system, we receive this, this, and this, right? Because we pay into this system, we have subsidized education. Because we pay into this system, we have free or low cost health." Care. We pay into this system, and because of that, we are taken care of in terms of the pricing of the different food that comes that we purchase here in America. Our taxes, because they're so high, affords us to have all of these beautiful things. You would think that's the way we would um, be living right now because we do pay a lot into the system. And when I think about just myself alone, what I pay into the system, imagine, you know, maybe 2 or 3 million more Alicias, right? Just based off what I make here in the United States, what they take from me annually, and then you add 2 or 3 million more of Alicia's, that's a lot of money just right there, right? But then you're adding in everybody else and whatever pay bracket they're in and whatever, and the money that they're paying into this system. There is no justification to what is happening right now in terms of us not having proper funding for the American people, whether that be SNAP, whether that be any medical situations, the issue on homelessness. There should not be these major disparities happening in the United States of America. Full stop. And I won't argue with anyone about that, especially when we're giving money away, literally away to these other countries that aren't really doing anything for the people. They might be doing stuff for the folks in office, right? In these different governmental offices and spaces. But for the everyday American person who is paying into this system, expecting, better results for them living in the society, zilch, nothing, right? And so I can't sit here and say that, oh, it's just the Republicans. In my opinion, I feel like the Democrats also play a part in this as well. Are they the stronghold on everything? Of course not. But both parties are responsible for this. And like I said, you can't convince me otherwise. Um, the article goes on and it says, in this section, it says a debate over contingency funding. The nation's largest anti-hunger program, SNAP, has a contingency fund of about $6 billion. But November benefits are expected to total around $8 billion. The USDA shutdown plan noted multi-year contingency funding is available to fund benefits in the event of a lapse. Asked whether the USDA intends to make at least partial benefit payment next month, a senior agency official pointed to Rollins' comments that the program's funding will be depleted in 2 weeks. This is so interesting because the article that I'm reading right now coincides with this particular section. It talks about New York Governor Kathy Hochul, which is I have an article from New York State that's actually focusing on this. But I love that these two came together in this way. So it says New York Governor Kathy Hochul blasted the Trump administration for requiring states to halt the process of issuing monthly benefits. This is a deliberate and unprecedented decision intended to inflict pain on millions of hardworking American families. The federal government should instead do everything in its power to prioritize our most vulnerable and make funding available for this critical program. Hochul, a Democrat, said in a statement Friday. The food program is the second nutrition assistance lifeline at risk of running out of money amid the ongoing standoff on Capitol Hill between Republicans and Democrats over approving a federal spending package for the current fiscal year. The impasse forced the the federal government to shut down on October 1st. WIC, which provides food aid to nearly 7 million pregnant women, new moms, and young children, was on course to deplete its funding earlier this month. But the Trump administration shifted $300 million in tariff revenue that's typically used to fund child nutrition programs to keep WIC operating. The infusion should be enough to cover benefits for the rest of the month, according to the National WIC Association. However, there's not enough to the tariff revenue to also shore up food stamp program for November, a senior USDA official told CNN. The looming lack of funding is already forcing 17 states to stop accepting new food stamp applications. That's because their system would require them to spend partial October payments with November benefits. Other states are able to separate payments for the 2 months and can distribute October's aid to new enrollees. This is not the first time the food stamps have been at risk during a shutdown. During the record long impasse that began in December of 2018, the USDA initially said benefits would run dry at the end of January. But the agency said it would be a provision allowing it to make obligated payments within 30 days of a government funding lapse over to cover February payments. That workaround ultimately wasn't needed since the shutdown ended in late January. The article then goes on to talk about the critical program. So the food stamps provide critical assistance to families who need the help to be able to eat, said Gina Platonino, acting director of SNAP at the Food Research and Action Center and agency group, advocacy group. I'm sorry. The November benefits are especially important with Thanksgiving on the horizon, she said, and food pantries can't fill the gap since they are already under strain. The administration should act urgently to protect food stamp benefits as it has done with the other priorities during the impasse, said Ty Jones Cox, vice president of the food assistance at Left Leaning Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. We can't let households who need help purchasing food become another casualty of the shutdown, she said. And I will share this article in the show notes. Uh, But I once again, I am just overwhelmed with the idea that this was a decision. And this was a decision that was obviously made by more than one or two people. You know what I'm saying? Like this was something that was considered by human beings, or at least we think these people are human beings. You know what I mean? Like you are someone who has to eat and live, right? In order to do all the things in this life, why wouldn't you think other people would also need that type of sustenance, but they don't have the means that you have? And so, because of that, your job is to ensure that the money that the American people pay into the system is allocated to the American actual entities that are governed within this country and not foreign affairs. We're giving money out to like country Israel, right? We're giving money to was it Argentina? Like, come on, guys. Like, what is happening? Obviously, things that are not to our benefit. And regardless of why they're giving this money out, we need to take care of home first. And then anything else that's residual, if we can provide assistance, fine. But we are suffering. It's a major crisis here in the United States of America. And yet our government is tone deaf to that actual crisis or crises, right, that are happening around this country. Completely tone deaf to it. But I wanted to also go to this other article before I end the podcast. It is from New York State, and it says Governor Hochul slams Washington Republicans for holding SNAP benefits hostage from millions of New Yorkers starting in November. And I wanted to go to one particular section, and I'll share this actually in the show notes as well for you to look at. But New York State is broken up into different congressional districts. I am a part of District 15. And I was just blown away by how many people in general receive SNAP benefits here in New York State. I was also just kinda like, "Wow, this many people within the district I live in are gonna be affected." So in District 15 alone, there is 272,857 people that will be affected by this, potential, SNAP SNAP shutdown. I hate to say shutdown, but you know what I'm saying. For in terms of receiving assistance for SNAP benefits. Why can't I think today? you know. Um, so being at risk of losing their actual benefits. I mean, I was just blown away. 272,857 people. And also, we have to keep in mind, New York is what, 26 districts. And that equals up to 2,961,711 people that will be affected just in New York State alone. That's just New York State. Well over 2 million people will be affected by this actual cutoff of SNAP benefits. That is unbelievable. That's just within my state. Now imagine you can look up, in your state to see how many people are receiving SNAP benefits and see how many people are going to be affected. And I wanted to put a number to it because it's one thing to be like, oh, people lose SNAP benefits. But then when you start really thinking about it, you break it down based off where you live, different things like that. And even within your neighborhood or whatever, it's like, whoa, my neighbors are potentially going to be in a worse situation than what they already are. And this is all due to greedy self-centered individuals in our government who don't see beyond their particular agendas and realize that the money that they're even allocating out to wherever should be for the people. That's why we pay into the system to assist our government, or at least that's naively what many of us think, right? It's wild. And so, I just wanted to share that today here on the podcast with you all to make it as real as possible and even challenge you to look at your state, your city you live in, maybe if you are, broken up into districts or whatever that looks like wherever you're from, and see how many people in your area could be affected by this. It's just unbelievable. And so with that too, I just encourage folks, especially during holiday season coming up, many people, like that article was saying, many people are worried about how they're going to actually celebrate properly, given this news. Um, Food banks and food pantries are going to be stretched. They already are. And I just encourage us to, join different organizations. There was one that my wife and my daughter and we helped with a food drive during Thanksgiving, and it was called Gobble Gobble Give NYC, and I think Gobble Gobble Give is throughout the country. I'm going to share the information here in the show notes as well because I want folks to, if you're looking for ways to help folks, Gobble Gobble Give is one of those actual uh, organizations that is just really out here trying to help the folks. And so I'm looking at their website right now. The locations that they're in, if you live in these areas, check out Gobble Gobble Give in Boston, Massachusetts. They have a Gobble Gobble Give. Chicago, Detroit, Las Vegas, LA, Nashville, obviously here in New York, in Orange County, California, as well as in San Diego. So those are the locations where Gobble Gobble Give is. And also just look up any other organizations that are similar to Gobble Gobble Give and, help out folks, particularly like homeless folks that need that type of assistance. Um, and what's interesting is I was looking at there's another page here. It's on their about section in Gobble Gobble Give. It says, over the years, we have served many cities across the United States. We strive to serve as many cities as possible each year, though we aren't able to serve every city every year. So please check the homepage for a list of cities being served in that current year. I'm glad I saw this. There are some of those cities we have served in the past. So here's some other cities. Go to the. I'm gonna send. Like I said, I'm gonna put the link to Gobble Gobble Give um, in the show notes, but also go to the about section and it shows you the other cities that they have served in the past, and maybe they'll update it every year and change it up in that way. So just know, like, if you're in these certain areas, that can be a way that you can help give back as well and donate. You can donate to them as well. When we helped with Gobble Gobble Give last year, um, folks were we cooked food and took it because that's one of the things that you are asked to do is to either cook something and bring it to give out to folks, or provide like gently used clothing or different things of that nature, just to help folks out as well. So like I said, I'm going to share this information in the show notes. And I don't know, they might have other ways of I don't see it here on their site, but I was gonna say they might have other resources beyond Gobble Gobble Give, like to, help with other organizations. I don't see it here, but it could be. But and also just you can search that information as well to see if there's an area where you are that provides similar services. Y'all, we have to just take care of each other. That's what this is all coming down to at this point. Um, it's unfortunate, but our government is not here to help us. We have to help ourselves. We have to be that beacon of light that we hoped this government would be for us. We have to help each other. We're all we have at this point. So let's just, like I said, continue to support one another. Let's help out wherever we can, raise awareness where injustice lies, and yeah, do our part to attempt to save, or not so much save, but rebuild a new way of thinking and just this system in general, because it's crumbled. I feel like we're just slowly seeing it before our eyes. So yeah, the hope is that we can rebuild and have a country that is for the people and not for these billionaires and all these folks that are just greedy as I don't know what. Seriously. So yeah, like I said, I'll share this information in the show notes. And listen, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Eat Me podcast. Love y'all, and I will see y'all next week. All right. Bye.